Hello and welcome to a time special presentation for Thirukkural with Times, where we explore real-world lessons from the classic Tamil text Thirukkural with motivational speaker, author and diversity champion Bharathi Baskar as she explores the masterpiece. Those who have never carried the burden of discipline rarely recognize the weight of another person's achievement. Real knowledge produces humility. The more we learn, the more we realize how much remains unknown. But what about those who mock what they are ignorant about in the name of comedy or laugh at elders? Ulvuundaam had wise words to say about this tendency, surprisingly relevant to current times.
There is a kind of ignorance that is harmless. It simply does not know. Then, there is another kind that troubles me deeply. This ignorance laughs at what it cannot understand. It ridicules what it has never cared to learn. History, scholarship, art, music, literature, and sacrifice become material for cheap amusement. The ancient Greeks called such people Philistines. Modern psychology offers another explanation. Whatever the label, the damage they cause is real. A recent television program left me with precisely this feeling. It was presented as comedy. 4 young adults sat chatting casually, apparently believing that anything and anyone could become a joke. One participant asked the others, "Do you know VOC? What did he pull?" The question itself was designed to provoke laughter. The answers were painful. One participant guessed he must have been a boatman and therefore he pushed a boat. Another remarked, "I thought he was pulling a sari like how Duryodhana did." She did not even know that in Mahabharata it was Dushasana, not Duryodhana, who dragged Draupadi's sari. The studio laughed, but who was really being laughed at? Not V.O. Chidambaram Pillai. It was our own history. VOC, revered as Kapaloti a Tamilan, challenged the mighty British shipping monopoly by founding the Swadeshi Steam Navigation Company in 1906. When Indian merchants suffered under the colonial shipping monopoly, he dared to dream of Indian-owned ships sailing between Tuticorin and Colombo. He raised funds, purchased 2 ships, and stood up not only to another business but to an empire. The British retaliated with brutal vengeance. Arrested on charges of sedition, he was sentenced to rigorous imprisonment. Inside the prison, this distinguished lawyer was yoked to an oil press, forced to perform the labor meant for bullocks. Those agonizing years earned him the title Sekkiduttha Semmal. Poverty marked the rest of his life, but his sacrifice became a foundation for India's political and economic freedom. It was this extraordinary life that became a punchline in a so-called comedy show. Ignorance is never a crime. Pretending to know while ridiculing greatness is. Psychologists David Dunning and Justin Kruger described this tendency in 1999. The Dunning-Kruger effect explains how people with very little knowledge often possess enormous confidence while failing to recognize genuine expertise. Real knowledge, on the other hand, usually produces humility because the more we learn, the more we realize how much remains unknown. Perhaps this is why a classical musician, an accomplished dancer, a gifted artist, a poet, a scientist, or a freedom fighter can become easy targets. Even in schools, children who excel in studies are sometimes mocked or bullied simply because they perform well. Such ridicule rarely springs from wit. It often grows from insecurity, resentment, and the inability to appreciate another's excellence. Those who have never carried the burden of discipline seldom recognize the weight of another's achievement. Thiruvalluvar saw this danger centuries ago. He devoted an entire chapter to Periyaarp, which is not offending the great. In Kural 896, he says, Eriyaal Sudappadinum Uyvuundaam, Uyyaar, Periyaarp, Pizhaithozhugu, Vaar. One may escape from flames, but none escape the consequences of insulting the great. Valluvar's wisdom does not stop with freedom fighters or celebrated personalities. It quietly crosses the threshold of our homes. How often do we see aging parents or in-laws spoken to with impatience, corrected harshly, mocked for forgetting, or dismissed as outdated? More painful still, how often do parents remain silent when their own children belittle grandparents or treat them without dignity? Every such silence chips away at the civilization that we inherited. Respect for elders is not an old-fashioned custom. It is the moral foundation of every enduring culture. The day we begin laughing at those who carried us before we could walk, taught us before we could read, and sacrificed before we could dream, we have not merely created comedy. We have diminished ourselves. A society that mocks its achievers, bullies its brightest children, and humiliates its elders is not progressing. It has quietly vanquished its soul.